Hey everyone, please support what I do to help keep Greyhawk alive by subscribing to the channel. Also, please consider becoming a channel member to get early access to videos, exclusive live chats, quarterly adventure modules, and more. Thanks, and enjoy the show. So the other day, one of my supporters on Patreon, or members of the channel, asked me about how to handle the evil characters who live in Hommlet, and I thought I'd talk about that with everybody today on Greyhawk Grognard. So, I'm getting out my copy of Village of Hommlet, and like I said in the intro, I want to discuss the problem of the evil NPCs who are in Hommlet. And basically the question is, if the characters, if the player characters can just cast like Detect Evil, or if a paladin can use this Detect Evil power, why don't they just do that and root out all the evil people in Hommlet, and boom, they've done a great thing. And on the surface, it sounds like, of course, why don't you do that? And then you realize, well, there must be some reason why it hasn't been done yet. Now, bear in mind, there are, 4 evil characters in Hommlet. There's the traders, there's the mercenary guy who's in the Welcome Wench, Zook or something like that, and then there's the laborer who's working on helping build the castle for Bernie and Rufus. And all 4 of them are chaotic evil, and all 4 of them work for the temple. They're spies for the temple. And so in this scenario, yeah, it does seem if you're evil, you must work for the temple. But look at it from the player's perspective, and from the perspective of anybody who isn't the DM. Just because you're evil doesn't necessarily mean you work for the temple. Now, in practice, the way the module is written, it kind of does, but I'll get there in a second. But if you're somebody living in Hommlet, or if you're a visitor to Hommlet, just because you know this person has an alignment that is evil, it doesn't necessarily mean they're an agent of the temple. And also, from a good or neutral standpoint, just because somebody is evil, it is not a license to slaughter them. That's just how that works. There are millions of people who happen to have an alignment that is evil according to the rules, but they're still innocuous enough people. And, basically evil in the AD&D sense of the word means that you believe the stronger should dominate the weaker. And that can take a bunch of different forms. It can mean you are a greedy trader who by use of your cunning and your manipulative techniques, you can dominate others and make a profit that way. That would make you evil in a technical sense, but it also doesn't make you evil in a you're about ready to go on a rampage throughout the village and start killing anybody you can find. There are degrees of this. And from a in-game perspective, I would think that it is not a good idea to just go around randomly casting spells at people. I would think that would be frowned upon, especially in an orderly little village like Hommlet. If a stranger walks into town and starts casting spells at townsfolk, I don't think that would be well received. And especially if you're one of the agents of the temple, you could then turn around and say, oh my god, this guy just cast a spell on me, what's happening, this is awful, we gotta stop him. And he could actually rally the villagers against the PC, because the PC is just casting spells on people without their knowledge. Remember, the villagers don't know that these people are agents. They don't know that they're evil, they don't know that. They might know that they're evil. The clerics in the Temple of St. Cuthbert might know, but the townsfolk in general aren't going to know that you're evil, and they're certainly not going to know that you're an agent of the temple. And so if somebody comes running into the main room of the Inn of the Welcome Wench and says, "Oh my God, this guy who just came into town this afternoon cast a spell on me," it's not going to go well. It is very, very. The way I would DM it is I would say that could very well turn the villagers around against the PCs. Because remember, they see people coming in, adventurers coming into town all the time, and they're passing through and everything. They might not have the best image of adventurers to begin with. Especially given the history where, the temple had grown years ago and they have a history of being done, under that shadow. They might be very suspicious of strangers. And if strangers start coming into town and start casting spells and paladins start going like that, I think it is very possible, and a way for a DM to discourage that behavior would be to have the people who are having spells cast upon them are going to complain about it and turn the town against them. Now, another thing that I noticed when I was getting ready for the video is that there are only 4 characters that are labeled as evil, and all 4 of them are in fact agents of the temple. However, a lot of the NPCs, the villagers, don't have an alignment listed at all. Some of them, a number of them say they're of the Druidic faith, which means they're neutral. A few of them have an alignment listed, especially the, Bernie and Rufus or Lawful Good and so forth. But the normal villagers themselves don't, for the most part, have an alignment listed. You can infer that if it specifically says, they're followers of St. Cuthbert, then yeah. They're either lawful good or lawful neutral or something along those lines. But there's a number of NPCs in here that don't have an alignment listed, and it's not easy to infer what their alignment should be because of their religion. And what I would do is I would throw in a few evil villagers along the lines I spoke about earlier. They're not evil in the sense of mustache-twirling villains. They're evil just because that's their disposition, and that is they're ideologically evil. They believe in strength over weakness and so forth. That again does not make you a repineful villain who's going to go on a rampage and slaughter people, but it would show up as slightly evil on a detect evil spell. If you sprinkle in a couple of those, and they would have no connection whatsoever to the temple. They just happen to be there. They could be lawful evil or neutral evil. Remember, in the temple itself, there are prisoners. There are orc prisoners because the temple only accepts chaotic evil. Lawful evil is as much of an enemy to them as good is. So if you have a lawful evil NPC, it could just be like the shepherd or somebody, the carpenter, whatever the NPC happens to be. Make them lawful evil, just because. And then if the PCs do find a way to go through this regimen of like doing blood screenings during the Dominion War in Star Trek, they just go through everybody. Give them some false leads. Give them some, this guy's evil, but he has no visible connection to the temple. In fact, he has no real connection to the temple. Because, yes, he might be evil, but he's the wrong kind of evil. So send out those kind of red herrings and blind alleys for them to go down. The idea is that just because you're evil doesn't make you part of the temple. And there's enough ambiguity in the NPCs in the village that allow you to do that. And that way, you can have your cake and eat it too. Because if in fact they do go down that road, they can do it, but they'll be overwhelmed. There will be more candidates than are real, and it might end up with some good things. But I would discourage it, as I said in the way I said before, is that you just don't go around randomly casting spells at people and think you're going to get away with it. So anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know if you've run into this in the past in your game, and hope you're having a wonderful day. And stay safe from the Pinkertons. I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.